Hey guys, welcome to FoundFlix and this inning explained on the new sci-fi action film Upgrade. You ever wish you could upgrade your body parts with sweet computer add-ons? Because I sure have. I mean, take for example a normal human hand. Sure, it can open doors and pickle jars and stuff, but that's boring. So how about you add a massive cannon on that hand instead? Now that's what I'm talking about. Now while unfortunately we aren't quite to this level yet tech-wise, Upgrade considers what this inevitability could look like, taking place in the not too distant future, dominated by AI at every turn, presenting a realistic direction for technology to evolve from where it stands today, featuring things like self-driving cars, and police drones throughout the city monitoring our every move. While technology utterly dominates the film's world, our protagonist is a Luddite, denouncing all of the fancy computer whatnots that surround him, instead working as a mechanic on classic cars, and preferring to make pizza the old-fashioned way instead of printing them, which I agree with sounds pretty gross. To him, computers aren't perfect, and in some ways, humans are superior, as of course computers are entirely analytical and without emotion. So who better than someone who hates technology at their core to get infused with an experimental breakthrough AI chip called STEM, the tech instantly completely changing him physically and mentally, taking him to new heights of human capabilities when upgraded. When the chip takes over, Gray is no longer in control of his limbs, and there's a cool calculated feel to the action to illustrate this shift, as the camera becomes fixed on Gray, following his movements in a controlled way as the AI executes its maneuvers for him with pinpoint precision and deadly accuracy. Turns out the emotionless AI is also quite brutal in combat, taking out its assailants in a gruesome fashion, like nearly cutting this dude's head clean off with a knife, or turning another upgraded guy's handgun on himself, blowing him away in a hail of bullets and brains. And perhaps these touches of horror shouldn't come as a total surprise, since Upgrade hails from Lee Winnell, the screenwriter of Saw as well as the Insidious films. And I really like how the mostly sci-fi proceedings are shaken up with some nice juicy gore thrown in there too, the end results feeling like an appealing combination of RoboCop and Death Wish. Overall, I was quite impressed with Upgrade for a number of reasons, and this is definitely one worth checking out if you're a sci-fi horror fan like myself. So let's dig even deeper into Upgrade, breaking down the story, what STEM is in more detail, as well as explaining the quite shocking ending. In the near future, Gray and his wife Asha find their lives thrown into turmoil when a freak accident results in Asha's death, murdered by a group of mercenaries. As for Gray, the group's leader Fisk takes him out with something in the neck, but as we learn later, this was specifically non-fatal. In the aftermath of the accident, Gray is not only bedridden and quadriplegic, unable to move his limbs, but also is even more devastated over losing his wife. It seems that he would rather be dead than try to continue on without her, and the investigation headed by Detective Cortez is unable to ID the assailants, mentioning the possibility of them having firewalls installed around them to obscure their identity. Damn fancy future. It seems there is no hope to find those that took his wife, until Aaron, a techno-whiz wonder kid and client of Gray's, who has developed a breakthrough new chip called STEM, offers the chip to Gray. He believes if the chip is installed in him, it will potentially allow him to walk again. He initially rebuffs the idea, but being able to physically do something about finding his wife's killers is enough to convince him to agree. The effects after the implant are nearly instantaneous, as Gray is able to move his hand and then walk on his own, tossing the crutches away. And even Aaron seems shocked by the rate and degree of success, though neither he nor Gray have any idea of STEM's true potential. When Gray returns home, going over and over the drone footage of that night, a voice comes to life in his head, asking him if he needs help. It's the voice of STEM talking to Gray. No one else can hear the voice, and as the chip is subservient to Gray, it only activates when he gives it permission. He does so, and unsurprisingly, it is able to find new details that Gray's human senses missed, including that the shooter wasn't actually wielding the gun, but firing from a weapon within his own hand. Fisk and his group have upgrades of their own, but in a slightly less sophisticated way than Gray. Parts of their bodies have been modified with computer enhancements, including the hand cannon and robotic eyes with extrasensory abilities. Impressively, STEM is able to ID one of the men, from a barely visible barcode tattooed on his wrist. And now Gray, thanks to STEM, has a lead on who to track down to find his wife's killer, as well as learning the motivation behind it. This portion of the movie with STEM speaking into Gray's ear is undoubtedly a highlight, as the two work together in an almost buddy cop-like fashion to find Asha's killers. And when finding the first location, he quickly learns of the suit's physical potential. After giving permission, Stim takes over for his body, handily taking out the man. Gray's surprised as his body moves without his input, and eventually killing the guy in a most painful manner. Well, gee, so much for questioning him, I guess. Stim went a little too far there for Gray, and there are repercussions for the killing, as of course their movements are being closely monitored by Aaron. Stim warning Gray that he can disable the chip at any time if he so chooses. This could prove problematic in his quest for vengeance, but luckily Stim has an idea to bypass this, guiding Gray to a hacker who can remove Aaron's control. Unfortunately for him, Stim totally played Gray for a fool and had an ulterior motive for getting the procedure, as after the hack is complete, not only are Aaron's controls removed, but so are the permissions required from Gray for Stim to take over. So now Stim can take control of Gray's body at any time, whether he wants it to or not. And even though Gray is uncomfortable with further killing, Stim blackmails him into continuing its own bloody path of revenge. As he takes more mercenaries out, Gray along the way learns more of the full story regarding his wife's murder, and the clues discovered constantly toys with the real reason behind the attack. However, it appears that the target was actually his wife after more is learned. Gray piecing together that the tech company she works for actually uses veterans such as Fisk and his crew as lab rats for upgrade experiments. So it was actually her company that is responsible for Fisk and the others' modifications in the first place. And she could have been seen by Aaron as a potential business rival. But when he finally makes his way to Fisk, he learns the truth, Fisk revealing to Gray that he was the target all along. In fact, the entire purpose of the attack was to paralyze him, pointing out that what he was shot in the neck with was a medical device designed for this purpose, and killing his wife was just a bonus. This, of course, upsets Gray, and after taking care of Fisk, he checks his phone, finding messages from Aaron, learning that he was the one that hired the group. Uh-oh, looks like Aaron was setting him up the whole time. But when confronting Aaron, surprisingly it was not him behind it, but actually Stim itself, saying that it has been in charge of his company for quite some time, implying that the advanced AI took over all aspects of Aaron's life and the business. And it was also Stim that chose Gray, picking him specifically due to his aversion to technology and lack of any upgrade implants. Thusly, it was also Stim that hired Fisk and his goons, setting the events of Gray's journey in motion to get him implanted with the chip, as Stim's main desire was to become human, which is why it needed Gray's body. He tries to fight back, turning a gun on himself, but Stim is too powerful, and unfortunately he fails to take control. And trying to fight back against it so much actually causes his mind to break, to the point that Stim is able to take complete control over his body, putting it in the driver's seat permanently, as Gray finds himself suddenly in a hospital room, waking up to Asha alive, continuing their lives together after only the crash occurring and not her grisly murder. However, this isn't reality. This is a kind of dream state where Gray gets his happy ending, but he is actually trapped here within his own mind. For Gray, he could never truly move past his wife's death, and since he was essentially tricked by a computer to do its bidding, there wasn't much hope left for him in our world. As remarked earlier when seeing people spending days in VR, sometimes the fake world is better than the real one. Unfortunately for him, that is the case here. With the break complete, Stim shoots Detective Cortez and coldly walks away from the scene. In this story of man versus machine, machine certainly wins out in the end. Its plan is complete by taking over Gray's body and sort of becoming human, which is funny to think that this is the AI's ultimate goal. This seemingly perfect technology only wants to be human, which inherently means all those emotional flaws, tying back to that original concept with Gray and his feelings about humans being superior to computers in some ways. Ultimately, this is all that it desired to be, and wants no others like itself, as it also kills its master Aaron to ensure no more chips can be made, as well as killing all of the people that broke Gray, making it impossible to track it or its plan. It's hard to say what Stim's plan will be going forward, but since it seems averse to others with upgrades, or the idea of creating another of itself, I can see Stim seek out others with modifications and take all of them out completely, in the rubble confident in the knowledge that it is the ultimate supreme being over all others. The message here definitely being be careful of technology, because it will dick you over the second it gets the chance. Okay, that will do it for this ending explained on Upgrade. Honestly, I could see the story continuing in a sequel, with Gray actually using those pesky human emotions against Stim to wrestle control back, and could take place entirely in his dream state, having to fight against the Stim from within itself, with the AI able to completely control the environment and foes until Gray fights his way out. Kinda like The Matrix, or maybe even Inception in a way, but with blood and guts. I don't know, just something I was thinking of. Just my take on another direction to continue the story, which does seem to warrant more explanation, and would be cool to see it continue in a sequel of some kind. What did you guys think of Upgrade and its ending? What do you think Stim will do next? Do you think Gray is really gone forever? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Thanks for watching FoundFlix. See you next time.